Hi everyone, this is Gerard here with a brief tutorial in Photoshop. I'm looking to create a visual fold effect for a work that I created in Photoshop, and you can use this for a similar work or a photograph. And it's to create the effect that it looks like a folded piece of paper or object with a seam. This work is intended to emulate a Mad Magazine fold-in where we have a valley fold in the middle and then a mountain fold along these arrows beside the letter B here. And the first step we want to do in any time that we've got a document in Photoshop that we're working with is to have a separate layer. Having it in that separate layer makes sure that we don't have any changes that we can't easily turn off or undo later on. The next step is to set some grid lines in place, and we can do that in the View menu. And we're going to use that center line there, so we've got that in place, and we've got another guideline that we want to create here so that we've got a marker for what's along the arrows here. So we can do that in the View menu as well. Select a new guide. We let it default to the 0 position, and we can just use the Move tool to bring it over to where we want it. Now from this point, I think it might be worthwhile to just quickly go over a couple of the shortcut keys that we can use. Control apostrophe turns the grid lines on and off, and then Control semicolon turns the guidelines on and off. So that quick selection can make this process a little faster if you're looking to toggle between the two modes. To create the fold effect, the first step is to select the rectangular marquee tool, and we'll select the very first section that we're going to work with here. And we'll know we've got it aligned when that guideline changes color because we're right on top. And I've got it just there. From here we select the gradient tool, and we want to select the version of this tool that has the foreground to transparent, where it takes this foreground color and then fades it to transparent. A 50% opacity is safe to try out at first because it won't obscure your original document, but it'll also be enough of an effect to be visible. And we'll just take that across the selection here. For this final section here, we'll repeat the use of the rectangular marquee tool. And after we've got that selected, go back to the gradient tool, bring it across. And then from there, if we just toggle off our guidelines and our selection, we can have a look at the final effect here, and we can see that there's a contrast between the two that makes it look like there's a fold in the sheet of paper that this would exist on. So there's other possibilities for this as well, like you can try changing the foreground color on the gradient, and using a colored gradient and then an overlay blending effect might work really well depending on the color and the contrast and the composition that you're working with. Another thing you can try is to do a line or effect on the seams between the folding sections that can make it look even more like a folded piece of paper with some wear. And then another document level thing you can do is use a distortion effect to show additional levels of warping or crumpling, particularly around the edges of the document. So I'll just quickly go over the process of creating the fold effect in Photoshop again. And that's just, you want to start off setting up your guidelines and grid markers all within a new layer. You select the sections using the rectangular marquee tool, and then the gradient tool with the foreground to transparent setting. And then you move the cursor in the direction of the gradient that you want, and then you can repeat those middle 3 steps there for each folding section that you want. Thank you for listening, and I hope this video was helpful.